Hello everyone, welcome to episode 5 of A Practical Guide to the Tower. So I had originally planned for this episode to be within an hour, but as we will see, thanks to all the various inputs from everyone that I've spoken to, the episode is going to be much longer than an hour. And so what I've decided to do is split this episode into a 3-part series where we interview players from different stages of progression using different farming strategies and get their perspectives on modules. So in this particular episode, we will be looking at the early stages of progression, and to help us along this journey, we have gotten the help from Spartan, Taggz, and All Clouded. They are all content creators on the tower on YouTube and definitely providing much better content than I do. So I'll link all their channels in the description, and I hope you guys enjoy the video as much as I enjoyed making it and interacting with all of these people. So I'll catch you guys at the end of this. Alright, hi everyone. So to get things started, we have Spartan and Taggz. Most of you already know Spartan. He has one of the largest Discord channels regarding the game, or if not the largest one, I can't really remember, but it's growing every day. And Taggz is also another content creator on YouTube. So they are here today to talk us through some of the early game module strategies that you might want to employ, and specifically as it pertains to Blender, as they both of them have recently made a switch towards some of the mid-game strategies. So I think they are still very familiar with the early game strategies. So okay, enough from me. Maybe we can get the two of them to introduce themselves and talk us through the basics of the Blender strategy.
Yeah, sure. First of all, thanks for having us. Yeah, what's up guys? My name's Spartan. Been making videos here on YouTube for about 4 months here. I've been playing since July of 24, so coming up on a year. I'm still very much so towards the later end of the early game, so that's where I'm currently at. But I spent a very good while doing Blender, and yeah, I'm excited to talk about it.
Great. And on to Taggz now.
What's up everyone? Yes, my name is Taggz. I'm just your average tower player. I've been making videos now for about a couple months now. I have been playing the game for a little bit longer. I installed the game back in July of 2022, but I did not play the whole time. I installed it around that time, played the game for about a week. I was like sitting by the pool at the time, played the game for a week, and then I picked it back up last year around February of 2024. So I've been playing now for about 15 months consistently, more so a lot more now than say in the past. And yes, I ran Blender for a good bit, for about, I would say, the first year of playing the game. And then afterwards, I kind of did a transition about 2 months ago to different strategies to help me progress a little bit further as I leveled my stuff up more.
Great. So Taggz, now that we are with you, could you just walk us through the basics of the Blender strategy? What is it basically?
Sure, yeah. So basically the idea of Blender is it's basic. So usually players, they transition to it early on, usually after they, I guess you could say after they start off with like a turtle build, and then they switch to that eventually, where all of their attack stuff, it works together to knock everything back into their orbs. And basically their damage is mostly their orbs for the most part. So they got to have things like knockback. They could also use extra orbs, things like that, and all of their damage just comes basically from the orbs, right, generally.
Great. So Spartan, let me jump back to your stream. Let's kick it off with the module picks. So with regards to modules, what would be your picks for this kind of strategy for each of the 4 types of classifications that we have?
Yeah, absolutely. So, early on, like first starting out with the game, you're not going to have a lot of these like epic modules. So, what I did very early on was I would level up my what we call fodder, just the default rare pluses. I would get them in each category up to legendary and eventually mythic, up until I started getting some of these epics. In terms of which ones I started using from the get-go, I did get pretty lucky early on. My very first two epic modules were Galaxy Compressor and Multiverse Nexus. So really, I feel like very ideal and definitely helped me a lot with my early stages of the game. Mostly Multiverse Nexus. So there are two kind of camps of people. There are the Multiverse Nexus extremists, as we say, and the sort of natural sync supremists. So I very much early on used the Multiverse Nexus and saw a lot of value out of that and still use it to this day. And I don't really see myself changing it out for anything else at the moment. But yeah, the Multiverse Nexus has been super, super great. I would say probably if you don't have Multiverse Nexus, the next thing I would use if I didn't would probably be my Dimension Core. But yeah, that's for the cores. For the generators, again, got lucky early on with the Galaxy Compressor, but this one also has been absolutely amazing for just maintaining my uptime on my ultimate weapons as I have slowly over time got them down to permanent status. So that's been super great for my economy. I believe another option that I have used in the past is Singularity Harness. Another good farming module there. But I personally just use the Galaxy Compressor so that I can maintain permanent uptime. And for the cannon module is widely kind of open-ended. There aren't really any bad options other than, I would say, the death penalty. Gives you, a chance to mark the enemies permanently so that any damage that they take basically kills them, and it can definitely kind of hurt your coins per minute throughout a farming run. Fantastic for perhaps milestone pushes, maybe even tournaments. But the reason I have always kind of used my Astral Deliverance is twofold. First, this was the cannon that I was able to get to the highest module tier the quickest, just based on, luck of the draw pulls. So that's reason one. And as of late, reason two is because of the synergy with my Chain Lightning. I found that it's super, super impactful utilizing the bounce shots to kind of your advantage with spreading your Chain Lightning damage out. And recently, for my armor module, I've been using Sharp Fortitude. This has been really, really nice. Before this module came out, I was using let me go to the armors. Early on, I used the Wormhole Redirector, and that was fantastic up until I got the wall, and it kind of lost some of its effectiveness. And at that point is when I started using, not that one, started using my Anti-Cube Portal. The Anti-Cube Portal is what I used for probably the past 5 or 6 months, and it's been very, very good. But recently, I've really been enjoying using the Sharp Fortitude. Obviously, this mainly comes into play when you do have the wall unlocked, but what I've always kind of suggested to newer players is, in terms of, in particular, your armor module, you want to use whichever one you're able to get to the highest rarity. So, legendary, epic, mythic, ancestral, whatever you can get to the highest. And the reason being is because you're going to want the highest defense percent stat and the highest health regen stat that you can get. But that's that's been kind of my setup for the past week or so now, with the Sharp Fortitude, and it's been really nice. And I think that's about all I got on that.
Great. So let me jump over to Taggz, because from what I see, if I remember correctly, Taggz, your modules are relatively less developed than Spartans, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, for the most part.
And I see that you are not using a Galaxy compressor for your farming. So maybe you can share with the audience on your current setup and why you have made these picks.
Absolutely, yeah. So me and I'm pretty sure others have come to the conclusion now that Galaxy compressor simply does not exist in a way. Well, for me at least, I've had the worst luck with trying to level up my Galaxy compressor from Legendary. I've had it for Legendary for so long now that others have been able to get theirs to Mythic, and mine continues to stay at Legendary. So what I decided to do was I'm just trying to make do with what I have, what's best. And because I have a Mythic Plus Black Hole Digester, I figured if I could get that to level 121, the coin bonus for that would be a lot more than using a legendary module of the same type. I could also use a mythic harness as well, because and the reason why I'm using the Black Hole Digester now also is because my Golden Bot is now synced up with my Multiverse Nexus, which you can easily, when you figure out your average with your multiverse, you can go ahead and just match the cooldown of your Golden Bot with that, and the coin outcome with that is so much better than if you use a Galaxy compressor, that's fine too, but the difference is your Golden Bot, you're just going to lower the cooldown all the way. But this, I feel like this is best for me because it allows me to utilize a module that's a higher rarity, so I can make more coins with what I have with my setup. Now, if I get a Mythic Galaxy compressor, I don't know. I might go back to using that now. I don't know for sure, but I guess we'll see when that time comes.
Mm-hmm. And what about for the others? For the core, so I noticed that for your armor, you're using Anti-Cube Portal and not Sharp Fortitude. Is it just because it's the
Absolutely,
best rarity?
Yeah. So right now I'm bouncing back between the two. I just got the new module, the Sharp Fortitude. I can get this to Ancestral. I'm just waiting for the fodder to get it up to Ancestral. What I've been noticing with my strategy is that I don't know at this point which one is better for me, because even though my Anti-Cube is 3-star, obviously it's going to have more health, but the regen's not going to be as good in a way. But it seems that my Anti-Cube is giving me more coins, and my Sharp Fortitude is making me survive a little bit longer, which I guess would give me more cells overall. But I still am undecided on which one is better. That's why now I'm doing a test run with Anti-Cube Portal to see if it's actually true that I'm making more coins per minute with it as opposed to using the Sharp Fortitude. Even though I think they're both a good choice, though, if you're running EHP, in my opinion, right now.
Yeah. And so maybe speaking to some people in the very early stages of this game where maybe they don't even have Chain Lightning, so they, in that case, for your cannon module, do you think the new ray gun, I can't remember what it's called, Shrink Ray or something, that would be good for a blender strategy? Just because it allows juggling the enemies a little bit better, or it wouldn't give much of a performance gain compared to the others.
So for the new one, I don't know. I mean, I guess it could help a little bit, but I just think there's so many better modules that could be put into that slot, such as, I mean, obviously you have Astral Deliverance. You could also put in Being Annihilator. Havoc Bringer is, I mean, it's okay, but I don't know. I just think there's better picks to use than the Shrink Ray, in my opinion, but I could be wrong, though.
Okay. Yeah, it's really difficult to say early on, I guess. Oh, please, Spartan, go ahead.
I think maybe potentially because Blender is not necessarily a damage-oriented strategy. I think maybe there could be some merit to using Shrink Ray. just for the simple fact of sort of the utility that it brings by decreasing the enemy's mass. I've never used it. I don't even fully understand how it works, but maybe if reducing the mass, may affect like the enemy's speed, stuff like that, just overall things that keep the enemy away from your tower, because ultimately that's the goal with Blender, right? You're trying to shoot them back, knock them back, and use the shockwave to get them away from your tower. So maybe it could be useful. I didn't even bother getting it because I didn't really see the appeal with my current build, but perhaps maybe it could be good.
Also, Ryan, I forgot to mention earlier, to correct myself, what I said about which things are good for EHP. What I meant to say was, when it comes to if you're doing Blender or whatnot with EHP, instead of the anti-cube, the other good pick would be the wormhole redirector if you're unable to get the new module, the Sharp Fortitude.
Yeah.
So I think them both are a good choice.
Okay. And so with regards to, sorry, because I'm very far removed from that stage of the game, it's actually, I'm learning quite a bit from this. With the wormhole redirector, it's good when players don't have the wall. Is that right?
Yes. I would say so, yeah.
Okay. And the reason for that is...
can be potentially... Oh, sorry.
What is the reason for that?
Taggz?
If you want to take that. Oh, so the reason being for that one, if I'm correct, is because the wormhole relies off of the recovery package health, basically, the max recovery of it. And so the higher the rarity, the more you will regenerate your health off of your recovery packages. And if you have the wall, it kind of like doesn't really do anything at that point, because if you have a wall up, you're going to take damage from your wall health first instead of your regular health. So I think like once you get the wall, the wormhole becomes, I guess, not as effective, I guess. I don't know. I could be wrong though, if that's how it works.
Right.
I never really used it because I never was able to get it until like just now.
I see. So yeah, I think I remember it now. It's the one that does not give regen to your wall. It gives regen to your tower instead, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot
I
of
would
sense.
just add on to that. I think, kind of like I mentioned previously about like whichever armor module in particular you can get to the highest rarity. I know Taggz touched on it too. Very, very important just for the sake of getting those substats like we were mentioning. But early on, Wormhole Redirector, like prior to getting Wall, Wormhole Redirector probably would be the top pick in my opinion. Kind of split between that or maybe Anti-Cube.
Okay.
But
And now
probably more so for Blender, Wormhole Redirector.
Great. So now that we are here on your wormhole redirector, would those be the stats that you would recommend?
Yeah, I would say 100% for sure. The defense percent and the health regen, obviously ideally matching the rarity of the module itself. But beyond that, some other good options for the Blender strategy in particular. Shockwave frequency and size would not be a bad idea. The whole mindset behind the frequency, just obviously giving you as much sort of uptime on the shockwave as possible to keep the enemies away from your tower. That's a good option. Another good option, your orbs, having more orbs available would be good. Orb speed, your knockback chance and force, things like that. But again, the main stats that you will want to roll and lock in first will be these two at the top, health regen and defense percent.
All right. And what about for your Galaxy Compressor substats? Sorry, I forgot to mention that earlier.
Yeah, so for my Galaxy Compressor, I can't pull up the stats, but yeah, the main thing for the Galaxy Compressor is going to be your package chance. It just obviously complements the unique effect, reducing the overall ultimate weapon cooldowns, with an exception of Poison Swamp. Some other good options for early game blender would be the enemy attack level skips. I know I have a health level skip in here, but the enemy attack will be really ideal for sort of the earlier game stage players, as well as the coins per kill bonus. And let me double check. There's a few others here. Another good option would be like your free utility upgrades, trying to get you as many enemy level skips as possible, just sort of maximizing that out. Cash bonus can also be good for just giving you more cash available depending on how developed your workshop is.
Yeah.
But yeah, those would probably be the stats I'd say.
But I guess the most important one would still be the 15% package chance.
Yes, absolutely. That would be the first one I would shoot for.
Okay. So is the reason why you are running this health level skip just because of a shot constraint, reroll shot constraint, or is it because you're transitioning into something different now?
Yes, so I have the enemy health skip here because I also use my Galaxy Compressor for my Legends tournament runs. And for that, I am trying to inch my way towards running more of a glass cannon style build, revolving around pretty much just pure damage. So that's the whole reason I have that here. If I was still doing full-on EHP in like Champions League or below, I would 100% have an enemy attack skip in there.
Okay, great. So, this is actually interesting because Taggz, if I remember correctly, you use project funding for your tournaments, right?
Yes, correct.
So could you talk us through about that for the core module?
Yes. So when this came out, I didn't think anything of it. I pulled a couple of them, and then I didn't think that it was any good. But then later on, this was a module where I think they found out later on that it's actually really good for glass cannon builds. So I only have a legendary one, but it seems to get the job done for me in Legends League. I have it set up in a way where I feel like all these effects, they complement the module itself in Legends. I have the cash bonus, I have enemy health level skip, and free utility upgrade, obviously so that I can max out my health level skip sooner. And then +4 enemy health level skip, obviously, to complement that even more. And then now, because I have free upgrade mastery, I could lock out the enemy attack level skip so that I could max it out even sooner. And the added damage, because I used to use Galaxy Compressor in tournaments, and then the difference in damage was something like between getting like 25 billion to getting like 100 or like 80 to 100 billion, something like that.
Yeah.
And so that extra damage really helps with everything from your bullet damage to your ultimate weapons damage, such as like chain lightning and things like that. And I just think when it comes to Legends League, this is definitely worth using.
Mm-hmm.
If you have it, even if it's only epic, I think it's still worth trying.
Okay. And what about for the lower leagues? Because I know for you guys, when it's everyone faces this. The moment you go to Legends, suddenly you realize that there is such a huge damage requirement. What about for the earlier leagues in the past, like say Champions and below? What kind of setup were you using previously?
You want to take a Taggz, or do you want me?
Sure, yeah. So funny enough, I actually do worse in Champions League than I do in Legends League. I think because I focus more on damage. But if I were in lower leagues, I would run more like an EHP style setup. So instead of running the project funding, I would run just a regular Galaxy Compressor, and possibly instead of anti-cube, I would probably run like a defensive module. Like now, I think the Sharp Fortitude now is definitely going to make the lower leagues a lot more competitive, especially like Champion League, or even so something like if I had to choose, it would be something like the Sharp Fortitude, the Fortitude or the Wormhole, or even maybe Negative Bass Projector too, possibly because of the Orb effect.
Yeah, definitely. So this is, I guess, a more irrelevant question, but what do you guys think about tournaments nowadays that you are in Legends? Do you like it more, or do you still prefer the longer runs in earlier leagues?
I 100% prefer it. I mean, obviously, like, you can go into the rewards stuff and how the higher rewards are great. We all know that. But just in terms of like the time that I'm spending in tournaments versus farming, my run may be 45 minutes to an hour versus 3.5 hours doing a champions tournament. So that's, in this game, time is probably the most valuable currency, So, I mean, I would say it's been really enjoyable. It's been definitely challenging, and it's been a pretty huge learning curve from spending so long running EHP. But I've enjoyed it. I've always enjoyed kind of the complexity and struggle, or the grind of this game.
Yeah. And so now that we are on your page, Spartan, what about your Multiverse Nexus stats? Are there specific stats that you think people should shoot for?
Yeah. So definitely stuff that has helped me a lot with coin gain has been the death wave quantity, just getting more of the effect waves tagging the enemies. I saw a pretty big boost actually when I first put this on. Other stuff that's been valuable, I want to eventually trade out the black hole size for really any of the cooldowns, more than likely a death wave cooldown, I think. My overall average, I feel like that would be valuable for me. And the golden tower duration, it's been really helpful keeping my golden tower uptime as close to permanent as possible. But yeah, I think when I started out, I really focused heavily, I can't even show it, but I focused heavily on like the golden tower bonus. I thought that one was really, really valuable. And I realized later on that the bonus was not as important as getting the cooldown effect, just for the sake of reducing the cooldown and getting my uptime more frequent. I found that I got more value from that. Another great option that really I should probably consider putting on is Spotlight Angle as well, just for the coin multiplier there.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, so it's I noticed that you are currently at 113 for your module levels. Would you recommend that people wait to later levels so that they have more slots before they start rolling?
I would say it doesn't depend as much on the level as much as it does. I mean, if you're close to your next milestone unlock, like mine is level 141. So like if you're at, what is it, like 110, I forget when you get the fourth one, but like if you're really close to getting the fourth unlock, maybe don't consider re-rolling until you achieve that level. But because I'm only at 113 and I have a long ways to go until I get my next level, so at that point I don't really have to worry about re-rolling. I can do it pretty confidently because it's going to take me a minute to get to that next milestone.
Yeah. So there's definitely a bit of hoarding of the re-roll shards as we get closer to the 141. And man, you probably haven't experienced this yet, but when you actually roll your Multiverse Nexus, it is brutal. It is brutal.
Yeah, I'm dreading that day.
Yeah. But it's okay. I'll let you experience it in a couple of months when you hit 161.
Oh boy, I can't wait.
Right. And so Taggz, for the last question that I have for you would be for the canon substats.
Okay, so for the canon substats, I'm not 100% sure if these are ideal, but they work for me at the moment. So right now I'm using attack speed, critical factor, critical chance, and super crit multiplier. I think some people in the past, because I use Astral, I think they mentioned for me to get like bounce shot chance or bounce shot targets, but I don't know if that would be as effective. I like the added crit because it boosts my ultimate weapons like my chain, lightning, and stuff. And the attack speed, I guess one could argue that I may not really need this stat because my attack speed is already pretty high as it is. I think it's like 45 when maxed out, or yeah, it's like 45 at the moment. So I may not even need that, but I guess it's an extra. I think it's an added bonus for tournaments and stuff. So I just keep it on for now, and because also I have some very bad luck with trying to reroll effects. I only have 2 ancestral on this, and the other 2 are mythic, and I'm afraid that I'll probably not get those other 2 at mythic for a very long time with how things are going.
Yeah. So I guess for those that are not aware of this, it's an issue with the game, because if you're running at 5 times game speed like Taggz is over here, it's such that you probably won't be able to maximize the use of your bullets when you're running too high of an attack speed. The game just would not register it. So there is a case to be made that if you have enough attack speed, it's worth just not having that substat. Personally, for me, I'm very similar to you, Taggz. When there are tournament battle conditions, like in today's tournament where there is the extra enemies or something, I don't feel safe without having the +5 attack speed substat, even though I know it probably wouldn't do very much for me. So yeah, I'm not sure about this, but I'm sure someone out there would have done some math about this and figured something out. So if anyone in the comments knows about it, do let us know. Right, so I think those are all the questions that I actually had for the 2 of you. Do you guys have anything that you think is worth adding at this stage?
Yeah, I would say just the biggest thing early on is don't slack on any aspect of the game. So early on, I slacked heavily on my module labs. And nowadays, looking back, I wish that I had kind of done a more balanced approach instead of just focusing on one specific thing. So that would be kind of my encouragement, is try to find a way to do sort of a more balanced approach in terms of cards, modules, just every facet of the game. That would be my advice.
Great. And for you, Taggz?
Yeah, I would say obviously econ is king at first. I think someone along the line said something like econ equals damage in a way, and I kind of agree. I made the mistake early on in the game of neglecting econ and thinking that I could jump straight into like full offense, and I guess you could think of it as like bringing the queen out, like bringing up the queen early in chess in a way. Whereas if you're not ready for it, it's probably not a good idea. And because my mistake was I neglected econ for a long time until about maybe 3 months ago, where I finally decided to work on it, and it made a huge improvement with everything. And then also, some people say that you should focus on your cards first or your modules first. I think you should do like a balanced approach. Me, I did not do any modules until I maxed out all of my cards first. It took me about, I think it was like 5 to 6 months or so. I think maybe a little bit more than that altogether. And then after that, I started to work on modules. So for the longest time, I had 1 death penalty and all generic modules. And I didn't know that death penalty was going to affect me at the time, but the more you know. So, it is what it is. And yeah.
So I think with this game, they kind of throw us in the deep end of the pool right from day one, and there's just so many things, and players often feel very overwhelmed. Okay, so yeah. Taggz, on that note, actually, could you just expand a little bit why on you suffered in terms of your performance by focusing on damage, and what has changed since you've started focusing on econ?
So basically, I was sort of my labs, for the most part, for the first year of playing the game, I sort of just like, I had them on like a cruise control in a way, I guess you could say. Whereas I didn't really have like a path of what I was doing. For the longest time, I perma-labbed lab speed, attack speed, coins kill bonus, and cash bonus at one point, which I think was a mistake. I think I got my cash bonus up to like level 62, which I think is a little too high in my opinion. So I think I kind of wasted my time on that. And so basically for the longest time, instead of doing valuable labs, such as like standard perk bonus or improve the trade-off perks or like the black hole coin bonus, spotlight coin bonus, because I had 6 to 7 ultimate weapons, but instead of focusing on my coin bonus labs like my spotlight and all, I was like researching my chrono field instead and working on damage instead of the stuff that really mattered, like my econ. So it wasn't until about, I think, like 2 months ago where I started to work on my coin bonus labs and all my UW stuff, and I started to see way better results with progressing.
So where did you funnel the coin
stuff.
into?
I'm sorry, repeat that?
Where did you funnel that extra coin that you got from economy into in your workshops?
You mean now or in the past?
Ever since you started focusing on economy and you've gotten more coins.
So now, yes. So now I started to focus on getting my damage to. Well, I mean, when I was running Orb Devo, I was getting my damage up to like around level 55, 5600. Same with my health and regen, around 55, 5600. Getting my attack level skips up, both of my level skips up as much as I can. Preferably, I think like 350, like 350 to 400 is a good range to get them at. And then also I started to put in the workshop, I started to max out things like max recovery package chance, recovery amount, and all like the basic stuff like defense absolute, defense percent, thorn damage. But I think those are already maxed. But then I started to focus more on the Workshop Plus, which is the enhancements. And because about a month ago, I filled out that thing called the effective path sheet. So I started to use that as a guide of what to put my coins into, whether it's in the Workshop Plus or in the lab, and in the workshop in general. Well, more so the Workshop Plus, basically.
Great. So anyway, since we are here on your screen, do you mind showing your lifetime stats?
My lifetime stats? Sure, yeah. I'm in the process of making a video right now, but right now I have, so like I was saying before, it says here July of 2022. I played the game for a week and then I started in February of 2024. And basically to show that, I would have to go like the Tower LOL, because the first tournament I did was around in the Copper League, was around February of 2024. And so now my lifetime coins is 2.13 Q. I have about 38.7 trillion cash and about 33,000 stones, which I know is really high, but it is what it is. And these are my wave stats, basically. I mainly farm tier 9 and 10. Sometimes I do tier 11 just to see how far I get, but I don't think I'm not really ready for tier 11, so mostly tier 9 I would say is my best bet right now.
Great. And so as I understand it, you're doing Oblers at the moment. Is there like a ballpark guide that you would throw at the audience on when they can start considering the switch to like a free up Oblers?
I would say in terms of the free up Orbless, so the reason why I made the switch to that was because of my modules, because I have a black hole digester, and I recently picked up the free upgrade mastery, which I believe is one of the components. Now, Jay Plays made a video guide on this, and in there I believe he suggested that you you should have at least your free upgrade mastery to level 1 or 2, I think, but mine's still level 0, and I think it works just fine as level 0 if you plan to switch to Blender later on. Now, if you want to switch to, say, like Orb Devo, that's going to be an issue because some of the stats are going to be leveled up with the free upgrades, such as the knockback and the shockwave size, etc., which could be detrimental if you try and switch to Orb Devo. But yes, basically, I would say to switch the Orbless, I guess a good time is when you either have a permanent black hole. That's one good time. I know there's another player that runs Orbless, and he has a permanent black hole, and it works great for him. Or if you have the free upgrade mastery,
right?
You can run the free upgrade Orbless instead if you want to give that a try. If you have, I know that Spartan, he's given it a try with the Galaxy with the G comp. I'm using it with the with the BHD because I have, just so it doesn't affect the range, because I like to keep my range at a minimum for this in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I was going to say was, oh my God. Yeah. And I'm using the BHD because my golden bot is synced as well. So.
All right.
That would be ideal for that.
Great. Thank you, Taggz. And so, finally, on to Spartan. So I kept this question for you for the last portion, Spartan, because I know you have an Orb Devo guide. So in that guide, I think you mentioned switching from Blender to Orb Devo requires about 50 billion lifetime coin, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's kind of been sort of the blanket statement advice I've given.
And that's just because they can afford certain workshop upgrades given that amount of lifetime coin.
Correct. I will say a lot of it, like, you can definitely start sooner. You can also start later. It heavily depends on a few variables, mostly what you have developed in your labs. Mainly referring to like the EHP stuff. Like the EHP stuff is going to be very valuable, affected hit points, like your defense percent, eventually getting up to level 23, your health, decently high, your regen, you can ignore mine because they're kind of garbage. But ideally, I mean, this kind of gives you an idea. I was able to do it with, relatively low levels with my EHP stuff. But yeah, the main kind of mindset behind the 50 billion recommendation that I've given people, and Jay Plays has said the same thing. It, like you mentioned, comes down to the workshop, just making sure that you have enough liquid coins available to basically make sure that you have proper survivability. So your health, if you're farming tier 1, maybe defense absolute, health regen, as well as getting a decent amount of enemy attack level skips. And yeah, that's kind of why I've said that.
Great, thank you. So I guess let me summarize this. If we think about it, because of the early game nature of this discussion, the modules are useful, but there's also so many other things that the player should focus on, and not so much just entirely on modules at this stage of progression. Would that be a accurate statement to say?
Absolutely.
Great.
Yeah, like your cards are going to be a huge factor as well.
And I guess just to wrap up, when would you say that modules actually became a very important factor in your own gameplay?
For me, really kind of two different things there. First, whenever I started kind of actually trying to climb in tournament ranking, that's when I started trying to work on, properly developing my different effects, as well as working on some of the labs briefly to get levels worked in and whatnot. But more so for me was when I wanted to transition to Orb Devo. That's when it really came into play for me. But yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for all of that. And I presume your stats aren't going to be very different from Taggz in terms of the lifetime?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think me and Taggz are decently close, really in most metrics, but I've also pretty much just been farming tier 9. I found that I get the most cells and coins from it, and that could be a whole nother discussion about cells versus coins, but ideally you want to find a tier that you can farm and sort of optimize both, not just, try to get as many coins as possible, but also factor in the cells, because cells are very important.
Yeah.
But yeah, tier 9's been great for me. I've enjoyed it. I would like to eventually start trying tier 10 again, but I think I'm a little bit off from that.
Yeah. And so, guys, anyone who's watching this, if you haven't already, please join Spartan's Discord. He has a very active Discord. There's always a lot of people in the rooms, and they are always around, and they will provide you a lot of feedback if you have any questions that you might need addressing. So maybe to wrap things up, Spartan, would you like to spend a minute or two to promote your own channel and your Discord?
I will never turn down an opportunity to shamelessly plug. So yeah, guys, we've got a Discord community with very close to 900 people. Ryan kind of touched on the gist of it, but we've got a ton of different tower resources available for you guys, some different useful links and stuff like that, as well as like a player's question channel where people can obviously ask their questions about the game. And generally speaking, I try to stay pretty active in the voice channels. So if you ever see me in there, feel free to pop in, say hi, don't be a stranger. I know Taggz is usually in here with me too. Ryan occasionally is here as well. But yeah, we're here to help you guys. We're all in this game together. Sounds kind of corny, but it is what it is, right? It's a community, and we're trying to all build up our towers together. So
great.
But yeah.
Thanks, Spartan. And Taggz, would you like to promote your YouTube channel?
Yeah, definitely. I made my channel a couple months ago. I used to play a different game, Random Dice, but now I'm switching over to the tower. Mainly, my main series on the channel, it's called Making Up for Lost Time. Basically, what I'm doing is I am trying to make up for the mistakes that I did in the past, because the first year of playing, I wasted a bunch of time, basically, and now I need to get back up to speed, because there's others that have been playing for less time than me and are way more progressed they were way more progressed than I was. Also, I'm sure you guys have already saw, but I guess you could call me the path sheet guy. I recently made a tutorial on how to fill out the effective path sheet, which is basically a spreadsheet form guide that shows you what you can efficiently upgrade when it comes to damage, HP, and econ to get the most ROI and the most bang for your buck with what you currently have in the most efficient way possible.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I saw that video. It's a very technical video. And so for me personally, I don't use any spreadsheets, but that's because most of the related labs that I sort of need, I have them. But definitely for earlier game players where there is so many, the game just floods you with all of that information, I think it's going to be an amazing resource. So thank you for that, Taggz.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, and at first I had no idea what this was. Someone mentioned it to me, but I think I tried filling it out before, but I did it all wrong. And then I got to give a shout out to my friend Richard, aka the sheet guy, I call him, who put me onto that thing. And once I filled it out correctly, it was really good. And I was like, wow, this is actually really good. And I figured, because I think before I made the video, I helped out maybe 4 to 5 others how to fill it out. And then eventually everyone was like, yo, when's the video going to drop? And I'm just like, all right. And then when I first made the video, it was an hour and a half almost. And because I just wouldn't shut the hell up, and I had to trim it down. And even with the trimming, it was still an hour long, but the tutorial was I think it was 45 minutes, which chill real. I thought that everyone was going to be like, "Yo, like, just get to the point. Like, you're talking way too much." But it seems that everyone they liked it, so I can't complain.
Yeah, so you know why that is the case, Taggz? Because you and Spartan, you guys have voices that appear on radios, you know? So people are going to
You're
like
saying
it.
I'm ugly? Nah, I'm just kidding.
I don't
Radio
know.
voice.
I don't know how you look like, but your voice can definitely sell records, you know? Right.
I'll buy your album, Taggz.
That's nice. Thanks.
All right. So thank you very much for taking the time, both of you. And I'm sure everyone would appreciate all the advice that they have received from you guys today. I guess we can wrap up the segment now. Thank you. Right, next up, we have All Clouded, who runs an Orb Devo build. I personally find his videos amongst the most entertaining to watch because of his energy and humor. And so do make sure to check out his channel. I'll link it in the description along with everyone else's. Anyway, enough about my opinions. All Clouded, would you like to take a minute or two to introduce yourself to the audience and maybe talk us through the basic mechanics of the build you're using?
Hey guys, all clouded, all the way down from New Zealand. So we're a country often mistaken for Australia, but we're right beside it. So the build that I'm running is quite well known now because there's a few content creators that have covered it, but I'm doing Orb Devo. If you can see on my screen at the moment, the basic idea is to hoard a whole bunch of enemies as much as you can around your tower, and you're basically trying to kill them when the multipliers are stacked together, focusing mainly on tanks and that. When it comes to the Devo, there is probably, in my opinion, like 3 subcategories before you go orbless. So there would be Orb Devo without the wall, and then there would be Orb Devo with the wall, still relying on thorns, and then you would eventually merge into Orb Devo with damage.
Right, and so yours is at which stage of progression? I see a wall.
So I've just respec'd, so I've pulled all my coins out of damage to put into enhancements for coins and that, but I typically farm, if I do the Devo, I typically farm for with damage. So just for context, for people that are watching, I like to stick to 2 12-hour runs. So my overnight run, which you guys are seeing me set up at the moment, it is with damage, and I don't switch to Blender at any stage of the day, but I can do around about 10 to 11 hours of my run with damage in there.
Okay, great. Thanks, All Clouded. So now talk us through your modules. What would be your module picks for each of the 4 options, and why?
So this is what I'm running at the moment. Ideally, so if we start with the cannons in that, so you can run any cannon until you start getting to the damage stage where you would maybe want to be a bit more specific. So AD is fine. What you have to watch out with for AD is that you're not putting too much damage in. So it's a bit of a fine balance. So I just come back from hybrid, and I'm just finding where when's the best time to start introducing damage during the run. So it's a bit of a playing game. That's why people kind of rely more on the thorns method. But to be honest, I ran just any cannon. I did some runs with no cannons as well, when I'd rely mainly on thorns. But when it comes to when you start using damage in that, I would prefer anything that's mythic upwards, and the main reason for it is because I'm after the critical chance. So if you're doing some trimming with your bullets, you want to get that critical cap of 100%. And the main reasons for that, so you can take advantage of the crit coin.
Oh yeah, that's true. What about for death penalty? Would you say that's
definitely would recommend against it. I used death penalty for the longest time, is when I was doing Blender, and then I saw somebody said said not to use it, and it was pretty good advice. Yeah, that's probably like the one that you want to stick away from. If anybody hasn't seen it, it's just mainly because it gets a 15% chance to mark an enemy. So basically all 15% of the enemies that spawn throughout your run, you can insta kill them, and that means that you might accidentally kill them out beyond here or something. So it hasn't quite made it into the multipliers, and then like just say you actually accidentally bounce shot it, kills it out there, and then that kind of defeats the purpose of what you're trying to do with a Devo.
Yeah. And so I guess along those lines, it's probably your tournament module, given that it's ancestral.
Yeah, it was actually my first ancestral, and I got it ages ago. But yeah, I normally use it for tourneys and that. But as far as farming goes, one thing I would say though is if you are rolling for stats, once you get your crit chance, if you're looking for something else to roll, just be mindful. So don't overstack yourself too much with too much damage, and it's all dependent on the type of farms that you run. Like if you're only doing a 4 to 6 hour Devo, you want to be more conscious of how much damage you're coming into that run with, opposed to, you know, myself that's doing like a 12-hour run. I can go a long portion of that without introducing any damage cards or without buying anything with cash in the workshop. So I wouldn't say that there'd be anything too much to avoid, because you can manipulate your attack speed. So if you do manage to roll, say something like this where you've got crit factor and super crit and that, you know, it's fine. I wouldn't roll it off, but it just means that going forward, just be a little bit more mindful on how you're doing your run.
Great. Do you recall how much coin gain you got by switching away from death penalty?
I was in a stage of the game where all the gains were rapid, you know, week on week because of labs.
Yeah.
And you know, so it was a little bit hard to gauge. But off the top of my head, I'd probably say no more than 20%. At least 20% will be right on the high end.
Oh, okay. That's actually a lot of coin. Great. Now what about armor?
So for the armor, if you're doing a Devo without a wall, this would be probably your best armor that you could get, and I was fortunate that I got it to Mythic pretty fast. The main thing that I would focus on as a priority role would be your defense and regen. Those two there will help you a lot. If you're doing with no wall, then you probably want thorns as well. Maybe it can help you. If you do have a wall, the only reason why I'm using this is because it's ancestral. If you do have a wall, some people will use ACP, but find that they can do too much trimming with the multiplier. And then other people are probably going to have a lot of success with the new module that come out, which I think I might have one copy of.
Yeah.
So this will just basically buff your regen and your health. I'd say this would probably be pretty up there, the Sharp Fortitude. But outside of Sharp Fortitude, probably a really good one would be Negative Mass Projector. I know that can help with hybrid too. But same thing again, because you're still relying on EHP, but you'd go defense, you would look for regen X, wall health, and then whatever else on top. It's just pretty much icing on the cake. But these three here will be your priority role with the wall.
Yeah. I think I agree with all of that. I think maybe for people who are running a wall build, the new module would be pretty solid for them. especially since Orb Devo you don't really need to rely on damage.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, it looks. I think a lot of people are going to enjoy it.
yeah, I've been hearing like people gain like 1,000 waves and all from it, so it's probably going to be pretty up there.
Yeah, it's a good middle ground until people kind of move off into whatever direction that I suppose they'll go, or wherever the meta ends up shifting to.
Yeah, cool. What about for generator? You're using Galaxy Compressor now.
So I'm using Galaxy Compressor. The other method would be to use, where is it? I think I've only got one copy in my entire time playing. So we'll go through what I've got first. So because Galaxy Compressor, and we're going to take advantage of the unique effect just down the bottom, I'd personally put the priority on package chance, and then I'll put second priority on attack level skips, and that's just for survivability. The package chances, that's the only reason why you run Galaxy Compressor. And then from there you have a couple options. So you can either go with coins, you can go with cash. You have to forgive my spelling, but we'll pretend that my writing, I mean. You can either go with cash, and then you can go with health level skips. Health level skips is good for future proofing yourself, but I wouldn't sink too much rerolls into it. You're better off probably going, if you're in the early stage, you probably package chance attack and then coin. And then the other option is Singularity Harness. Is it Singularity Harness? What's the other one called? No, wrong one. I don't actually know if I've even got one copy. So the other one is people often use it for when they're going for a gold bot sync. I don't actually have a copy of it. And then that one there, you can just skip the package chance. Is it Singularity Harness?
So I think Singularity Harness or Black Hole Digester should probably work for a GoBot sync.
Yeah, you just wouldn't even bother with oh yeah, it is Singularity Harness. Each bot by 5 meters. You just wouldn't bother with package chance, basically. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So it's, I guess Singularity Harness would be like the easier requirement alternative to Galaxy Compressor, and Black Hole Digester, because you do need the free upgrade percentage, probably is the more I guess difficult to attain kind of substats wise module.
Yeah, you also need a bit of metals in circulation if you're gonna run with a gold bot sync.
Yeah.
Which I just can't be bothered doing, to be honest. Not at the moment.
Yeah, makes sense. And for tournaments, I see you have a project funding. Do you actually use that?
I just got this. I'm still playing around with it at the moment, adjusting things. So for this, I've just gone for cash bonus and health level skips. Because you to take advantage of the effect.
Yeah.
Also, I play around with this one sometimes. I haven't quite figured out the best conditions, but I know for me personally, it works good for the Pulsar Harvester works good for bosses, the boss ultimate, and then also for the tank ultimate. I feel like it does quite well.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Between the
I
two,
don't think it's S tier or anything, but it's still a good one to. I think a lot of people write it off.
Yeah. So would you say, O'Clouded, that because those two are at legendary, and since you have Ancestral Ancestral Galaxy Compressor, do you think the extra damage is actually helpful, or would you prefer
it
the
has
control?
been for certain conditions, like going for project funding, but that's a big drop, like 4%. 4% on Ancestral to 4% on here, like even with the damage buff that it gives, it's still quite a big drop. I think I'll feel the difference a lot more once I get to either Mythic, or once I have enough cash personally in my workshop to bump up my level skips. And then I think that whole feeling, the impact of losing 4% will be negligible at that point.
Yep, makes sense. Okay, and I guess finally for the core module.
So for the core, Multiverse Nexus is a pretty common one that everybody will use, and it has its place for a very long time when it comes to farming. I think Greenie even still farms with it. There's a few cases when you probably shouldn't use it. So, for example, when it's epic, because of it incurs a penalty. If anybody's unaware, it's good when you first get your ultimate weapons and you need to bring them down to sync, or if any time you accidentally misclick. Like I think Ethan DX was doing a video and he went to scroll his page and he accidentally misclicked, so that's another good time.
No, that's horrible.
Yeah. So, and he actually went like the whole week or so without it being in sync, and yeah, the coin drop was pretty substantial. But for myself personally with Devo, so when I had this at Legendary, it was just completely unviable to use. But once I got it to Mythic, then it made going to Devo a more viable strategy to get some coins. So I've gone for Spotlight Angle, Golden Tower bonus, Death Wave quantity, and then the last one can just be anything. It doesn't really matter for me. That's just kind of what it fell on. If you were to go for anything, you could possibly go for either a duration or a cooldown, depending on how your stone investment looks. It starts changing though once you start going lower in your cooldowns. So if you don't get like a Mythic, or if you don't get an Ancestral, you could probably, or if you do, and your ultimate weapons are on quite a low cooldown, then once you start going for rolling for cooldowns as your substats, they become a lot more impactful. So I'll give you an example. If you have a sync of say 130 seconds or 150 seconds or something, if you roll a -3 second stat on here, that's negligible. But if your cooldowns are at 100 seconds, or your sync time together is 50, 60, 70, 80 seconds, rolling those are going to be a lot more impactful, and especially if this is Ancestral. Like if this was Ancestral tomorrow and I had enough reroll shards, I would go for Golden Tower cooldown, Death Wave cooldown, and then you could start looking whether you want Spotlight Angle, Death Wave quantity, maybe the GT bonus you might be able to sit it off for a bit, or you could go for GT duration if you're intending on changing out all Devo. So this mod here is a bit of a clutch one, and it's kind of everybody wants it at Ancestral.
Yeah, it's definitely
Never upset if you roll 4 modules and you get one.
Yeah.
If you get one, you're never upset. You're like, yes.
Yeah, definitely. This is one of those it's such a versatile module, I would say. You can use it for like so many different configurations.
Yeah, it definitely sucks below Mythic.
Yes.
Like Legendary, it sucks. Epic, it sucks. It has its place to help you get on your feet.
Yeah.
But because modules, the process and rolling modules sucks in itself. If you don't get good luck, I wouldn't let not having a multiverse nexus hamstring you, and I'd start looking for different options if you needed to progress further and you just can't quite get there.
Yeah. So actually on this note, I think you're touching on a very important point. Especially since for someone like yourself, your modules are not completely developed yet. What advice would you give to people in like the earlier stages where, you know, they have just pulled all of these modules and they're not very sure? Like there are guides out there that would say, oh, use Galaxy Compressor and use Multiverse Nexus, but maybe someone just doesn't have them.
I think the biggest takeaway for anybody that's watching this and you know, is kind of beginning their journey in that, like I'm still a beginner, but is a little bit earlier and they're starting to get into modules in that. I would take any advice you get. I wouldn't take the advice that you're given solely as absolutes. So everything is subjective and everything depends on the situation. And say, for example, if I'm saying certain stats to roll or certain modules to use, it's applicable to my situation and it applies to, so the core principles apply across the board, but the nuances amongst it applies to me, it applies to my runs, what I like doing, my play style, and what tools I have available to me. So that's probably my biggest advice, that I think often in the community people talk in absolutes because they're referring to their situation or their play style.
Yeah.
So I would get, if you were really looking for an answer for something, or you're really trying to you know, get some guidance in that, get a couple people, watch a few videos, read a couple posts. You know, don't take necessarily one person's you know, advice about something, because sometimes it can apply to their style of gameplay or where they're at.
Yeah.
You know, like just say if I only have 4 roles here on my Multiverse Nexus, my roles are going to look different to someone that's running Orbless.
Yeah, definitely.
Because Orbless is going to have a completely different priority, but you might be closer to an Orb Devo build, but you might be taking advice from an Orbless player.
Yeah.
So the meat and veg is the same. We all want the same things.
Yeah.
The seasoning on top is slightly different depending on the build and the stage in the game. That's probably my biggest advice.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice, because, you know, every now and then someone in the Discord just asks like, oh, what should I do? And well, I can provide my opinion on that, but at the end of the day, if anyone ever says that, well, I decided not to do what you suggested because of this reason, you know, it's great, right? I think everyone's tower is unique to their own personality. So if you have a justification for why you don't want to pursue a particular path, then that's the best outcome that anyone can hope for.
Yeah, you have to play it how you like to play it.
Yeah, and it kind of...
I say it time and time again that I hate playing Devo, but I need the benefits that it brings. Like, I need coins at the moment, and I'm kind of forced to play it, but I've set myself up and my build to work for me, if that kind of makes sense. So some of the decisions that I make will be a hell of a lot different to other people because they don't require the same thing, they don't have the same schedule.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the most important takeaway that everyone should have regarding any aspect of the game, you know. At the end of the day,
everything.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's just a game.
It's just a game.
It's just a game, and you should do what you like. That's the most important part. So you actually enjoy looking at your tower.
You absolutely have to do what you like and what works for you. And if you don't want to do something, don't bloody do it.
Yeah.
You know, just do whatever the hell you like. If you want to shatter your modules, your Multiverse Nexus, because you like the look of it, do whatever you like. Like, it's completely up to you. It's your tower, it's your time. As long as you're having fun, that's all that matters.
Yeah, that's great advice. Thank you, All Clouded.
But don't shatter your Multiverse Nexus. It's like, I'm one copy away from ancestral. I will cry on the inside if I see someone shatter it.
So earlier today, I actually shattered my third galaxy compressor.
Oh, are you at 5-star?
Yeah, and I can't seem to
You're
pull
living
any.
the high life.
No, I can't seem to pull what I want. I keep getting dupes of stuff that I already have.
Champagne showers up there. High life.
Alright, so anyway guys, this is the humor that I was referring to from All Clouded. It's amazing. If you guys have a chance, hop into Discord when you see him, have a chat with him. He's hilarious. Okay, anyway, before we wrap up All Clouded, is there anything you would want to say to the audience, like promote your channel, give a shout out or two if you wanted to?
Sorry. Just a massive thanks to everybody, and especially the community as a whole, because it's probably the best community that of any game that I've played. Everybody's helpful. Everybody wants to see everybody have fun and succeed in that. And yeah, just thanks for everybody's time tonight.
Alright, thank you very much, All Clouded.
Cheers, bro.
Alright, so that's a wrap on early game module perspectives, featuring Spartan, Taggz, and All Clouded. I hope everyone would join me in thanking them in providing their input and taking time out of their day to do this. I hope that it's been informative to you guys as much as it has been for me, and I'll catch you guys in the next video where we consider mid-game module perspectives and how they relate to mid-game farming strategies. Alright, if you like the content, do hit the like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye!